G'day legends, I hope that you're all having a fantastic day and a great end to your week leading into the weekend whenever you see this video. I'm really hoping you're having a great one. Now, we're finally seeing some of this modern equipment, mainly being the Leopards and maybe the Bradleys as well, but that's still a little bit up in the air, but enter the battlefield, enter the battle space. And as I've said over really the past couple of weeks, or at least very much the past couple of days, the offensive has started weeks and weeks ago, but in smaller bits, probing, feeling out, moving into areas, staging areas here and there. But I think what a lot of people are waiting for is that main effort. And what I've been saying is once we start seeing these new vehicles that went into Ukraine, the Charlies, the Leopards, the Bradleys, and other variants of other equipment as well, that's when I think we can assume that then the main effort has started. And people will quote many people that has then started, that the offensive is on. And I think as well as that, one of the main things of why we know it's on is the campaign was about the offensive. And of course, it is a massive at the moment from any Ukrainian source at all. Now, something I do need to say is that this is an information vacuum. Only the Russian sides are releasing anything as far as photos, videos, official information, things like this on the conflict at least, and movement. So what we're getting and what people like I am and other people around are relying on are now Russian sources and trying to piece that together with some other information we have. So as I say with everything, take everything with a grain of salt. If there's a Russian flag in the bio, Ukrainian flag in the bio, if when you click onto the map, it's covered in Ukrainian flags or Russian flags or this or that, take that with a grain of salt because it is going to have a side of a narrative in that. And it could just be leading language as well. But it's important to know at the moment that that is what we are seeing because the Russian side are pushing out a lot of stuff as the Ukrainians are drawing back in a lot of it. Now, talking about these vehicles. From today, they have definitely had a poor first introduction. First time we've had confirmed sightings of these. And I will say as well, the footage is terrible. Like, I don't know what camera they're sticking on this because I have a really cheap Mavic drone DJI thing. And the camera's brilliant. My phone is like a very old phone and the camera's brilliant. I don't know how the footage is so bad. Some people have said, and just go with me on this, that the footage it originally wasn't bad, but it's been stepped on so many times, getting transferred phone to phone and compressed up and down, things like that, then the footage gets worse and worse. And I get that as well. And people saying that Russia doesn't want to give away the quality of their camera, so therefore then they are not posting the full sort of high definition video from there. And we know that like you can still buy an Apple 14 Pro in Russia. Surely they could just stick that camera there. I don't know. We have seen that there has been some of these vehicles destroyed and we're going to look over those in some videos as well. Now with this as well, I contacted a friend and someone who's been on this as well, but has been completely anonymous and helped me with a lot of this. He has said artillery and mines ruin everything, and that artillery is the king of the battlefield. A lot of tanks, and I've said this a lot, that people think all the tanks that have been killed, let's say the Russian tanks for example, were killed by anti-tank munitions as far as javelins, NLAWs, Carl Gustav and other anti-tank guided munitions from there and drones. The majority of tanks killed were still killed by artillery. Artillery, as much as we take the piss out of the arty guys, it is still the king of the battlefield. And there are some very interesting things in some of the video and the footage that we have seen come out. Now, I will say as well, Oryx, who does confirm with photographs, everything, primarily on the Russian side, has as well confirmed that at least one Leopard 2A4 was severely damaged or destroyed in this. We don't know the actual fate of there. Now, these photographs people have put into like reverse AI and Photoshop, so you can see if something has been AI tampered with or Photoshop tampered with more so, and it shows up that they are not. Let's just have a quick look over this. And of course I can't show you all this, but it will be on my Telegram. Quick plug. This is the beginning of the footage here. And we see some very interesting things here, that this column of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, maybe 11 or 12 vehicles. Maybe I've counted some shadows, but of that many vehicles is fairly sort of spaced up, that they're very close together and down a road from here. Now, and as this moves through, then we start seeing these vehicles in the open. And now this is said to be a Leopard from here. Now, some of this I will not be able to show you, but then we have seen this vehicle as well here that then is destroyed. And that is said to be the Leo 2, the Leopard from here. Now, again, this footage, shocking, but they're saying that the front bit, the square here, and the turret to the side is very indicative of then the Leopard 2 from my reading. Now, where is some of this actually geolocated? We'll go through the rest of that footage in a bit. So this is picture number 1 here of these vehicles, and people are saying that this is a Leopard here as well, and maybe this one by the front. And to my eye, this does look like a Leopard here, and we're seeing them on the battlefield. And even Ukrainian pages are saying that we have seen maybe 2 or 3 Leopards today, and the one destroyed apparently was a Leopard 2A4, so a newer variant of this. But this pick number 1 has been geolocated to then this position here from geoconfirmed. So it is said to be on this area at this corner structure right here as well. Now, what we then will look at is picture number 2, and then we will go over more of the footage. So this is picture number 2 of these then destroyed vehicles here. So they've been hit by shelling, as you can see here. Now, people are saying that this vehicle here is a Bradley by the high and the large turret. Now, that's hard. On my initial looking at this, I thought, yeah, that could be a Bradley. It sort of does look like that. But at the end of the day, with footage like this, it could just be an M113, being an older variant, with a turret on it, because M113s have been exported absolutely all over the world, like everywhere over the world. And a lot, in the beginning didn't have turrets, but even I've operated those as mechanised infantry in the Australian military, and we have a turret on them. And then I think the Danish ones have a larger turret again. So they are commonly mistaken for then being a Bradley from poor footage. But we can see that a number of vehicles here destroyed then by artillery, and this is a photograph of the same area. I'll show you where this is, of a number of M113s down here as well, a number of other armoured vehicles. But I will say on this photograph, what people are looking for are these Western, Leopards, Bradleys, whatever. But there are a number of other vehicles destroyed in here, and at the end of the day, tanks are incredibly important. So pick number 2, which is this one here, as well as 2 Alpha in two just slightly separate spots, but either down in this road around this area. So in claimed Russian control. Now, where is this near? This is near Bilahora down here, and we'll just zoom out to give you an idea of where this is. So it's just to the southeast of Otokiv, and this is an area where we have seen a lot going on. Now, we will then roll forwards through this footage as I've shown you some of the photographs from there. And as you can see, this is some screenshots out of the video we just looked over as well. And you can see a lot of then shelling has been in this region, and then recent shelling here. So you can tell these are old shell marks here by some of the grass has grown over, and that these are then unused shelling. And this is, I believe, the Leopard 2 that they're saying over in this region, then cooking off and burning. Now, what I will say on that is the Leopard 2 does have blast doors on top. Now, if the battle door inside, because you take the ammo, put it in the gun, close that door, if that door is closed and the ammo is breached, the ammo compartment is breached, and that does explode, there is absolutely a chance that the crew did survive, and that the vehicle is then repairable. Now, we don't know in this, and we don't know if it's actually you're able to go and actually get it, but the cook-off, it's different to a T-Series tank. A T-Series tank, if you're in the turret, you're basically sitting on top of the ammo, on the ammo rack of the autoloader. Tanks like this, as well as the Abrams, for example, have a this is going to be the wrong name, for like a battle door inside where you get the shell, put it in the thing, but that closes, and that door is stronger than the blow-off panels on top. So if that's breached, they'll blow off, and you can survive that impact. So that is what we've seen of the cook-off there, and this as well is then the Leopard 2 said to be here as well, then catching on fire there, and that number of shelling. And this is the screenshot we looked at this location here as well. The initial sort of introduction to this is concerning, and a lot of people are bringing a lot of doubt into where this actually then goes from here, and that first impressions last, and this is the first time I've really seen them confirm the battlefield. But what I will say is this doesn't mean that this is the end of the offensive and that the total offensive will be a failure. We know the offensive would be incredibly hard, especially on that breakthrough, and the breakthrough is where we would see the most equipment and people sadly lost in this. That's what we would see. But people are talking about the tactics here of the shells, the mines. We've seen a lot of other footage of vehicles hitting mines in terrain like that as well, and then the artillery against it. Our Wall Today shared this, but originally was from AFV recognition. Points of view videos I've seen of the Ukrainian offensive. Method of movement is shocking. No use of superior reverse opportunities provided by the transmission of Western tanks. Now, what is he talking about? So, Western tanks can go, some of them are actually faster in reverse than forward. Now, I've worked with tanks a lot, that they sort of come in because the front of the tank is the strongest bit, like the mantle or whatever they call it, the front. That is the strongest area. So they will drive straight in and then boost back out, and you've got the gun facing forwards the entire time, and you're presenting to the enemy your strongest part. It's like why you don't want to side onto the enemy now in the days of body armor, because you front on, you want to have the plate facing the enemy. Where he's talking about this, the opportunity provided the transmission is T-Series tanks, at least the older T-Series, have a terrible reverse transmission. So they can go in really quick and then absolutely crawl out. So then what they had to do was go in quick, fire off whatever, and then they would have to turn. You present your broadside to the other side to your enemy if you're the T-Series tank, and then that's when you become a bigger target again, and weak in the side and even weaker in the reverse. Now, advanced to contact routes are horrendous. Even if mined, it's no excuse to be so close together. Vehicle spacing is just a few meters in some cases. This is just asking to be killed and is a huge no-no for tank tactics. That even from my background of infantry, you need to be spaced out, because if you are all bunched up, one shell will get you all, one mine will get multiple, where you need to space out. And depending on the terrain, if the more open the terrain, the more you can space out, because the whole point of being close is for communications and visibility. In close terrain, you'll start moving up, and open terrain, you'll start moving out. And as you're moving out, that gives less chance of multiple things, from multiple hits from here as well. Static in the open for long periods. Again, a huge no-no for vehicles. Most Western armies typically employ jockeying, which is where you would pull up into a position, fire and reverse away, prevent a hit. So what I spoke about, going in and out of that transmission as well. Way too much reliance on drones while they're static in open ground. They could have spread out inside a tree line while recce was conducted. So someone will get me on this. It's called the Iron Triangle, I believe. Hit me up if I'm wrong on that. Vehicles come into like a tree line, they go out in positions and form that like iron triangle, so facing out in all directions, and then do whatever reconnaissance they need to do, and then move out from there from the drones as well. Basic movement of the AFV tactics, so armoured fighting vehicle tactics, as I've already covered, these need to be massively improving in order to gain success on the offensive, and that he knows it will be controversial. But I think he makes fair points from seeing just in this initial phase of this clip here that how bunched up this is on a road here, and where you can see it's already been shelled. It's already been shelled. You know that could already be then sighted in. And people are pointing at examples between, we saw the Russian convoys stagnant, bunched up, whatever, and then got absolutely hammered by artillery in the initial phases of war. That's how they lost so much of this equipment that Russia initially had. And people are saying that the Ukrainian forces should have seen that is then the problem. And okay, we've learnt the mistakes of our foe. We can't then repeat that. And many people are pointing fingers now. This could just be dusting off the cobwebs from here, but it is a big deal, and it's been the biggest thing everywhere online as well. What we are going to do is we're going to get off a topic of a bit of diet, and we're going to look at a couple of clips. So we have a Ukrainian BMP-1 here fording across, and then a fish goes down into the cupola of then the driver. So we're seeing these fish come up and straight down into there. So I think that is very bloody funny. Something that to at least lighten the mood a little bit. Now, we know that the flooding is absolutely horrific at the moment. We know the floodwaters are still rising in some areas. There's mixed reports on whether they're rising or coming down, but it is shocking, and people are pointing questions at other dams being still open further upstream as well. But we have this gentleman here rescued as well from Ukrainian forces. That how old are your father? That he is 93-year-old man, smiling, happy. But he says here's something very interesting. That I've already survived one war and the second one in my old age. So it's very difficult, but at least he was rescued at 93 and looks to be in really good health for 93. We're going to look over as well their British MOD update. The intelligence update amidst a highly complex operational picture. Heavy fighting continues along multiple sectors of the front. In most areas, Ukraine holds the initiative. Russian forces are likely still being ordered to return to the offensive as soon as possible. Chechen units have led an unsuccessful attempt to take the town of Mariivka near Donetsk city, where the front line has changed little since 2015. And we know that Chechen units have been pushing very hard in Mariivka, trying to then capture the remainder of the city. It says in most areas Ukraine holds initiative. The force on the offensive, we know Russia currently is on the defensive, Ukraine is on the offensive. The offensive force hold then the initiative because they're the ones controlling the battle space and moving around. If you were to talk about defensive initiative, well, that would be Russia, but that's just the wording of this. Now, through the 7th of June 23, flood levels continue to rise in the lower Dnipro following the collapse of the Kakova Dam, but will likely start to recede the 8th of June 23. Shelling has complicated some attempts to evacuate displaced civilians from inundated areas, and what we have seen is videos of Ukrainian military, police, fireys, things like this, trying to rescue people, and there being more shelling going on while that is happening. Now, we are going to then have a look at a couple of maps. The Deep State, there doesn't show any movement at all in regions. And we know that there is movement from some other maps, and we know so much speculate. Maybe they're right, maybe there is no movement, but a lot of the maps are showing movement, but they're not showing any. And I do argue too that Deep State could be part of this campaign with Ukraine as well. It's hard that we know it's a very pro-Ukrainian map, so it is different. Now, what we're going to talk about is some regions. So we're going to be using a war mapper as well, these two, and these two from Suruk maps, I believe, what is more of a pro-Russian source, but many people say is a very accurate one as well. So let's look at Lubovka in the Zaporizhzhia Oblast. Now, what I'm going to do before I've zoomed in early on you guys here. So, of course, we have Ukraine in the centre, the red areas occupied by 22, and the purple since 14. The green is areas that have been liberated. And here we have Romania, Poland, Belarus, and Russia around here. And some areas you may want to know is this, the Belgorod Oblast, where we have seen the crossings. This is Crimea, this is the Sea of Azov, and this is then the Black Sea. So we're coming down into this region, into Lubovki in this region. Now, and Stepove we have spoken about before, as Ukraine has liberated that previously, and we have talked about some fighting in and around this area. Now, this is Otokiv here, where we spoke about yesterday, so this is just to the west of this. Now, Deep State is showing this position down along here, and what is then ISW showing, so which come across to the ISW map. And it is showing have claimed Russian control, so showing fairly similar-ish to Deep State. But what is showing very different is then this map here. So I believe that we see this bend in the road here, and then this is this bend here. So it's saying that before this bend, it is cut down all the way through to in here, has been liberated over the past 24 hours in that Lubovka. So then where we're going to go is up to Avdiivka, just to the south in Opitny. This is an area we've talked about, and never search Opitny because it will show 50 different places over Ukraine named the same, and that is very common. So we see this is what the Deep State is showing. This is what then this map is showing from here. So it's showing a very different picture again. So if we move this off to the side, sadly the satellite imagery on Deep State is just completely not working for me, but we can see that this is painting that there is some more held territory in and around some areas, but then it has been pushed further down in other regions. So I'm just going to try and line up a few little things. We've just zoomed in here. So what we do see is this 45-degree angle, and across so this is this region. And they're saying that this region was occupied by the Russian forces, and that Ukraine has then taken this area as well as pushed down into here. So basically cut the top of this off and down into this region. So they've taken through here and through here. This is what the Suruk maps are showing as well in Opitny, which is just to the south of Avdiivka. What is going on in Bakhmut? So let's cruise up into everyone's favourite Bakhmut that we talk about a lot now. This is showing no change over the past 24 hours as we saw that move into then Berkivka. What then is this showing? So it is showing fairly similar that they have cleared this territory, they've gained through here and are right on the outskirts of Berkivka, up just to the south of this road, which is this road here. So showing a little bit different, but fairly similar, but showing, I believe, a little bit more in here. The satellite imagery used is from different times, so it is very difficult to line up exactly what is what. But we see this field here is distinctively this field, and this field here is this field where it cuts in through here. So this is showing fairly similar, and this square is right here. So maybe this is saying that it is across here, and then we see this field, it is this one here, so that it would draw more up along here through and then into this region. So similar, but showing more occupied on the deep state. We also have is a war map, a map of Bakhmut. So let's get rid of the really poor satellite imagery there, and then look at this. What it is showing is more of a push, and I wish that it had Yahidni on here to actually have a look at what is actually going on. So of course we have this road here through Kromovy here, and then the train track in here. Now you can't actually, the train track is in here, but see this snaking area here? This is what I believe is the train track coming through. So it snakes through in here. Now what this is saying is that Ukrainian forces did far more of a shift into this region here from Warmapper as well, that the grey zone in here has been expanded a fair bit, and that the northern flank of Bakhmut is more under control, as well as some areas of the south. So Bakhmut on the ISW, to my eye, isn't showing anything different to yesterday. Now let's have a look, as you can see where this line comes through on here, and we'll compare this then to this one from Warmapper. The line comes through and that cleared all around. So we take this reservoir here for an example, that this is still showing a little bit further in this region, I believe, but more of a chewing in, where we see this turn to the north, and then here, that this is saying that it is under grey zone at the moment on the wall mapper, and the ISW hasn't updated as well as from what I am seeing. So now we're going to go into this region here where we're seeing, and a lot of talk about Novodorivka, Novodonetsky, these regions, and saying that these are coming more under control. And we're seeing this more and more from an amount of sources. It's saying here that Novodonetsky is in the grey zone here, but there's been a further pushback down through here. Now, this town is not actually shown on the Deep State map. I don't know why the ISW and Deep State just don't show a lot of areas as well, but we're going to try and find this town on the ISW and see if we can. So we've got Novodonetsky, Oktyabrski here, and this is then this town. So it's saying that this line is pushed right down into here as well. So of course the ISW, the Deep State, and Warmapper are showing very different things. I have seen talking about Otokiv, so where we are, where's Otokiv here, this is Zaporizhzhia here, is that there is a push on two areas. Now the two areas are, let's just have a look at Otokiv here, Robotini here, and Verbovi here. Now this, I should say, is from a source that I can't verify, but it's saying that there are pushes towards this, and as you can see, this is a fair way behind where the line is showing. That is 6 kilometres. Let's take this one here, and we're talking of 8 kilometres in. So if that is true, that is a large push into that area, and something here has broken through. But as far as what is actually going there, look, we just really don't know. We've got to wait for some mapping and some geolocations, but it as well is very difficult to talk about. Legends, I was going to go over a new interview from Bogosian, but I think I might leave that one for tomorrow because this video is already getting long enough. I need to get this done, have some dinner, and go to bed. But look after yourselves. If you'd like to support me, there's links down below. But at the moment, we're just rolling with what we have got. We don't have that much information, and I'm a bit struck for time while I'm here to do really deep dives into some other stuff as far as actual journalism, not just blogging about what I bloody see and what I can confirm. So but just a bit struck for time. But if you'd like to support me, links down below. But thank you so much for getting to the end of this video and for supporting me. I really, really do appreciate it. So I'll see you tomorrow or in the next video. Okay, cheers. Bye-bye.